Welcome to the Valleycast. 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 Looking so crazy, your love. Got me looking so crazy, your love.
That was great.
That was a submission. Welcome to the Valleycast. That intro song we just listened to was submitted by Becca DeGoo.
Did we clap? Did you clap?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. Becca DeGoo is a,
National
she jumps.
treasure.
Yeah, she's a treasure. She's a Valleyfolk treasure. She is she's way too good at the Jackbox trivia games.
Yeah.
Yeah, she beats us every time by a lot. And somehow she manages to get into every single game, too.
Yeah. This will link to my topic when we get to it. But
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah. Not in a significant way, but I got some thoughts.
Wow, Elliot's going to throw shade.
Yeah, not to whatever Becca DeGoo, but I'm coming for you.
So the Valleycast intro is called My Favorite Breaking Bad Character is Walter's Wipe. And anything else? That's it. So thank you very much, Becca DeGoo. And I think we're running a little low on intros. So if you listening are so inclined, and trust me, you don't need very many musical skills. There's a lot of there's a spectrum of skills showcased with these user submitted Valleycast intros.
Yeah.
And no one is expected to be any kind of modern Mozarts or anything like that.
It's often better when it is terrible.
It's so much better. But
Yeah.
also it's really good when it's really good.
Yeah, it's great. And if we don't have intros, we can't do the podcast anymore.
At
No.
all.
Yeah, so as soon as we're out of intros, this show is over.
Sign up now at intros.com/thevalleyfolk.
For those of you that are listening to this, before we get in, I'd like to do a little housekeeping, if that is okay with you, Elliot.
I'd love that.
First of all,
I wish you had.
That was me further away from the mic.
I'm sorry.
I wish you
was
had a
just boosting
sound
you
of
just
someone
again.
knocking on the door, going "housekeeping" that you could play.
That should go into the soundboard.
Housekeeping.
We don't do it very often, but that could be very fun to
That'd
do
be
for
great.
sure. But first, actually, before housekeeping, even let me not be a rude. We have a special guest today, Alana
Classic.
Ficus. My girlfriend is
Hi,
here.
Alana.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. for
Alana
having me.
is a sweet treat, as you all know,
thank
and she's
you.
a wonderful lady. And she was in the first episode of the Reddit show that we do called Tales from the Internet, which we might actually change the title of because there's another show called that, I guess, on the
Nuh-uh.
internet. But we won't get into the weeds on that one. But
There's too much content. All the titles are
But
too
yeah, Alana is featured on the Valleyfolk all the time, and because she's my girlfriend and she's adorable and funny, and
you.
she's got some hosting skills under her belt as well.
Thank you.
And so, it just works out. She's not a new member of the team or anything, you freaking weirdos. She just comes in sometimes when we need someone, just like today. Like today, Joe is out.
Yes.
Joe is...
For a fun reason.
For a very fun
It's
reason.
coronavirus.
Yeah.
He's in...
And that brings me to my topic.
But Alana is here with us, and we're thankful for her. So thank you for coming in,
Thank
Alana.
you.
Appreciate you.
On a rain day.
On a rain
Dude,
day.
it just fucking...
You braved it. Thank you.
I got a hood and I came.
Okay.
I know it's annoying when we complain in LA about the weather. I think it's annoying most of the time, but the rain in LA does make people incredibly stupid, and so there's an
Yeah.
added level of danger called being in LA where you're just surrounded by bad drivers all the time.
Drivers in
it
LA
was like
are already...
go-karts this morning.
Yeah. It's already pretty hard to maintain good driving in LA. And then
And
when
the-
it rains, it just goes all out
And
the window.
the rain combined with people staying home because of the corona, and then also light, so that makes light traffic, which makes everybody extra crazy.
Yeah. But
But
anyway,
we're all safe.
But before we start getting too tangential, I just wanted to say...
Cut me off now before I go crazy on it.
No, that's okay. We could talk about whatever after we do this. But I just want to say a couple of announcements. First thing is, your show is back, for those of you that don't know and for some reason only listen to this, or maybe this is your only Valleyfolk fix that you get. So just in case you don't know, your show is back. We're calling it 2-Point Show.
Yeah.
Even though it's season 3.
Yeah.
It's technically season 3 of your
Yeah.
show. But we got this wonderful, beautiful set that our good friend Taylor put up and made amazing. And those of you who follow us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thevalleyfolk, you've seen a video where we basically did a sketch / chronicling of the building process, and that sketch is on the channel now, and it's very fun. Elliot and Joe and I got to play some new characters.
Diswiners.
Yes, the Diswiners,
Yeah.
and it's so bizarre and so weird, and I love it so much. And I really had a feeling you guys all made me feel like I had like the best character or whatever. You guys were like, "Oh, Steve's killing it with this character." But you guys are so good. Elliot, you're so
Thanks,
good.
man.
Little tiny parts.
Wow, I
And
appreciate that.
Joe
Thank
is so good.
So I go outside and I go into the world and I invite the outside.
Like
Yeah.
When did
you're-
this come out?
It's you haven't seen it yet, but it came
Yeah,
out.
I know.
This won't.
you. Future now, past then.
It's future
Oh.
now, past then. Yeah.
Okay.
Because this will go up Monday for patrons and Wednesday for everybody else on the new Valleycast channel, which segues quickly into that, even though we're jumping around all over the place. But things are happening here, guys. We really put our foot down on the pedal. We're going 88, and we're going into the future.
88, yeah.
Yeah, we're going 88, and we can't drive 55, and we're going into the future.
Uh-huh.
And the Valleyfolk is feeling like it's gaining its strength back.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, we're posting your show 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday is a specialty video, like a sketch or some kind of BTS type thing. And it's so exciting because we're working our asses off. And this has really been a collection of every single person here at this office working their asses off
Yep.
to bring really cool shit to you guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be real good. We also are moving as a result of the new schedule. A lot of the other titles are moving to behind the Patreon, which will make them better, in my opinion. And that'll be on a video by video basis. But one of the hot takes just went up there.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be a bunch of other new stuff. So we're also, while doing this, as a result of it, it's gonna be pumping new life into the Patreon, which will be very nice.
Yeah, and I think there's some special stuff coming to the Patreon soon too. Like I think a Comic-Con vlog that I shot.
Oh,
It's like
nice.
an adventure with me and Brett Register. Will be up on Patreon at some point. That'll be a Patreon exclusive adventure.
We're in the midst right now. In my opinion, of the riskiest, we're making the riskiest decisions we've ever made.
we
Which
really
is,
are.
if you know anything about our journey, pretty impressive. That we're already topping the risks that we've done in the past, and now
Yeah.
we're doing multiple at a time. Some in programming, some on the back end, and you'll hear about them as they're more official.
As they roll out,
yeah, it's good stuff. It's very exciting.
Which one are we? Are we shitting or getting off the pot? In that analogy.
We're
shitting.
shitting. Yeah.
So right now we are shitting. We are shitting
Yes.
our brains out
Yes.
on the toilet, and we're not getting up. And it's plenty of new stuff coming. It's so exciting, and totally big risks are being made this year.
Valleyx. Valex.
Yeah, Valley.
What's the Valley? What is it?
What is the
laxative?
XX for?
X-lax?
Oh.
Valaxative.
Valax.
We've all
Valex
taken
lax.
Valley
Valex
laxatives. But yeah, it's so exciting, and we don't want to keep talking shop because we want to get into the fun stuff. But this is fun stuff, and we're very excited. And we've been streaming like sometimes 3 times a week too, on the YouTube channel. If you guys are like, I don't like video games, well, guess what? Even though we are playing video games sometimes, we're still having so much fun, and the audience has been awesome, and people have been joining us, and we're really building this fun little community in the live streaming. There's just so much stuff. There's like more fireside chats coming where we just talk to the camera and we talk to the patrons, and we open up a really like intimate dialogue with everybody and just kind of ask them how they think we're doing and what we could do differently, or what you love or what you don't love, and then we vice versa, we ask them how they're doing and what they love. And it's really fun and intimate, and it's something that we like to do, and we're going to try to do that a lot more. And again, that is just for patrons. We did a public one recently to kind of restart the Patreon and restart this kind of new era of the Valleyfolk, just to kind of give you guys a taste of what that is. But yeah, there's just so much stuff. It's really hard to keep it all together, but we're we're doing great.
It's great.
I feel great. I feel invigorated. I feel excited.
It's freeing us up to do bigger things, which is nice too.
Yeah. And we won't have to shut down our office due to the coronavirus because we have such a small team. We're not too worried as long as we're all keeping proper hygiene habits.
Yep.
But I think we're all going to be okay here for now. We're staying safe. Thank you for asking. But yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's all the housekeeping. Just be excited. And please. If you're listening to this, I guess you're either on the Valleycast channel already, or you're hearing this through some other means. But a lot of you know about the Valleycast channel. But we have a Valleycast channel where we'll be posting full versions of all the podcasts now. And the Valleyfolk channel will have highlight videos featuring small highlights from those podcasts, as well as brand new podcasts.
Yeah.
That will be rolling out one by one this year.
Who? Do you know?
Well, right now we can say the First Time Show is coming back, and you're on it. You're in the leftovers.
Know.
But we've got to get that Watchmen episode read out and then watched out, and then
that's going up on the.
that'll
so we're
go up
doing
on
videoing.
Yeah.
now.
Well, no, I don't think we're gonna do video. That's just too much.
Okay.
And then it's like getting Ryan to edit more videos, and then it's like more highlights. And
Getting
it's just
Ryan. Getting
Ryan
lemon
Wilson.
rinds.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be doing that, but maybe in the future we will if we find a more streamlined way to get the video down, because it's just, we are a small team, and all this new output is, I know a lot of people were concerned that we're going to get burned out really quickly with all this new content, but we've really, really, really found a way to do all of this.
I mean, there's a reason it's taken you this long until you're launching it.
Right.
Because you weren't just sitting around and then decided to do it today.
No, we shot
You've
a
been prepping it up.
massive backlog of stuff, and
Prep,
we
load,
have...
pep.
The first 4 episodes of your show were done like a month ago or something, and we just wanted to make sure everything was good. So there's a lot of stuff in the can still, and we say that a lot. But we're not going to burn ourselves out, I don't think, because really, truly, this year is the year where we're just kind of like taking big risks, like Elliot said.
Well, we're shitting on the pot, but we're also throwing all that shit at the wall.
Yeah, we are. We're seeing what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of cool new shows coming, and there's more tales from the internet coming. And should I just tease what the next one is, Elliot? Or should we wait for it?
Yeah, tease away. I'm always for teasing.
The next episode of
I love
Tales
tease.
from the Internet features our very own Elliot Morgan and Grace Helbig.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, Andy called me this morning he was like, I'm editing the video. And he's like, I'm just going to give you a call. And we talked for a little bit. It was very nice.
Oh, he's so sweet. I love him so much.
Yeah, he's an angel.
I wish he was still here because I would love to have him in the office all the time.
Yeah.
Although I don't think we'd get any work done because
No.
he'd just be, come look at this scene from Pterodactyl.
Yeah,
That's my impression of Andy.
That's really good impression.
Thanks, man. Anyway, but so yes, tons of cool stuff coming, and Elliot and Grace's episode of Tales from the Internet is coming, and it's gonna be so great, guys. It's just exciting. We're working really hard. We're making sure we can handle it. We're like gonna bring in like new people to help us, and we're really, those part of the big risks are jumping headfirst into this new era of the Valleyfolk, and really just putting it all out on the table and doing everything we can to build this thing back up.
Yeah, we had a very big blessing happen in Halloween, around Halloween, where we went from being so comfortable that we were good if we just kept going.
Right.
And then what happened put us in a place of discomfort that I think is bringing the best out.
Yeah, we were.
It's just taking a little bit of time.
We were too comfortable, and
Yeah.
we relied too heavily on nostalgia.
Yeah.
And now we're just like, well, we're new now, and it's different now, and but we're gonna make it even better.
Yeah, it's gambling.
And that's that.
It's going, oh, we may not get to have this job forever, so we're going to do everything we want to do right now.
Absolutely.
And it's very nice. Yeah, it's going to be good stuff.
It's scary, but it's way more exciting and invigorating than scary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to stop, guys. We're just not going to stop. And your guys' comments have been so energizing and so soul.
You have no
refreshing.
idea how nice. Yeah, it is.
It's so
insane.
Wonderful. Everyone's been so wonderful.
Yeah.
I think we've finally come through the worst of it as far as like shitty comments and backlash and negativity and anger and all of that. And now we're just kind of in the shit happened, but we're looking into the future because it's all we can do area. And everyone's been so sweet and wonderful and supportive, and the comment section on all the New York shows have just been making me so happy and shed little tears of happiness because everybody's just been so supportive, and I just want to thank you guys. So anyway, that was kind of like housekeeping and my topic. So I'll just shut up and sit back now, and let's just get into this.
You're just gonna coast. Just coast the rest.
Let's just coast on through, baby. Let's just get comfy and listen to some wonderful vocal stylings from Alana Ficus or Elliot Morgan. So guys, let's jump right in. Who's got a topic?
Well, thank you, Alana. Unless you
go first.
Okay. This is about Becca DeGoo and the fact that she's always in the trivia thing and she always knows all of the answers. I think there's a conspiracy behind that. I think that she's actually like either part of the deep state or she's a construct of an institution of trivia.
Is she a Russian bot?
She's a Russian bot, yeah, and which makes sense because it's kind of a weird screen name, Becca DeGoo.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Let's see if in Russian DeGoo means anything.
I am Russian is what it says. Is
Oh,
the
it
direct
totally does
translation.
mean
Yeah.
I am Russian.
Look it up.
Yeah.
You don't believe me? Look it up. I got my hair cut yesterday, and the hairstylist that I go to, my hair guy, I love dearly. It's excuse me, Head Better Salon in Studio City, I guess, or Sherman Oaks. But he's
Shout out.
Great guy. Yeah, I do want to plug him because I've seen him so long. He's just got good hair. You guy, hard to find good hair with guy good hair.
It's true.
Good guy, good hair doing good hair on guy.
Guy with good hair doing good hair for guy.
Guy
It's hard
doing
to get
good
that
hair
guy.
on guy. Great.
When you find a guy that's good hair with guy and good guy,
You go.
You stick with that good guy.
So we started talking about conspiracy theories yesterday. That was the only link, by the way, to the Becca DeGoo thing that I could think of.
Because that's our own conspiracy theory.
Because now I'm just in a state of trusting nothing. But I went down a rabbit hole of some conspiracy theories a little bit, and it's always fun. And I want to know what y'all's thoughts are on conspiracy theories.
Oh,
which
fun.
ones you like, which ones you don't, which ones you think are true, which ones you think are nuts. Some of the ones that I always am perpetually fascinated by are. Right now, the big one is the Jeffrey Epstein one, which I think is
didn't kill himself.
Epstein didn't kill himself, yeah. And then the other one I always really like is the Pizzagate conspiracy.
Oh,
Pizzagate.
Pizzagate.
So,
man.
real good stuff there.
Wait, which Pizzagate is from Chuck E. Cheese or something else?
No.
I'm thinking of
this
the Chuck E. Cheese
Pizzagate is
pizza thing.
way less fun than
Oh.
that
Yeah.
one.
What's? Oh, this is the
Pizzagate-
pedophile.
Yes.
The pedophile
yes,
ring,
yes.
yeah.
There's many. Okay.
It all comes down to pedophile stuff
Philia.
a lot. With
Oh,
all
yeah.
these. I was getting my haircut, and I was like, do you think something happens when you just get so much power and so much money that you just become a pedophile? And then we're talking about like how, because it seems like a lot of these people, weirdly, that's like their go-to vice, and it's very strange. And then he was like, well, if you have that much money and that much power, you have access to everything, and then you run out of things. And so obviously the thing that's the most forbidden is the thing that you're going to want because it's the only thing that you can't have. So it's like the law of prohibition. What do you got, Alana?
I feel a little differently because although it seems like every rich white male ends up being a pedophile, or every pedophile ring exposed ends up being filled with rich white males. Also, how many people were molested as a child by just a relative of average means?
Yeah.
And I think there's actually a larger amount
For
of
sure.
pedophilia in there that are not only rich whiteys.
It's the power and money just gives you access to the stuff that everybody else can.
Those are
sneak
the
at
ones
in
who are
different ways.
perpetuating the like industry of pedophiles instead of just doing
Yeah.
a terrible thing in person to someone.
Yeah.
I don't.
The infrastructure of it.
The infrastructure is certainly good businessmen are creating a good infrastructure for their
Yes.
terrible things.
Yes.
Well, as far as like when you think about
Yes.
like, because even in the priesthood, there's like a lot of
Right.
pedophilia
Yes.
too.
Well, yeah, and I don't think it's just relegated to the upper people, but
No, not at all.
It's so weird how it does end up being them all the
think
time,
it's-
and
Yes.
it's such a strange, it's such a foreign idea to me. The thank God,
Thank God. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. It's a fascinating. But anyway, so the conspiracy theory thing, though, I'm incredibly skeptical of all of them because I think you can go down a wormhole with it, and I don't think people should trust their brains to be able to decipher most things just based on, because I think we want to believe certain things, and we want to believe that there's the moon landing didn't happen, or that all these things were staged, or crisis actors, and I think it gives people a sense of security. to satiate the chaos. But there's some weird conspiracy theories that have turned out to be true. So
yeah, like the Epstein one is interesting because it's like it's the most current created conspiracy. I feel like,
let's
right?
re-describe it. This is the guy who's
Jeffrey
like,
Epstein he had this place called Pedophile Island, which was I don't think it was
I don't know if
officially
I
called that.
had ever
Well,
heard
it's
this
not-
story from that
yeah,
perspective.
the internet named it that.
Right, the
and
internet
then
named
Lolita
it that.
Express, I think, was the other thing.
Oh.
Right. But
Yeah, real bad.
but
Real
he
gross.
supposedly he had this private island that him and his elite friends could play on essentially and could stay away from prying eyes and could do literally whatever they wanted to, and unfortunately that involved children and terrible things.
And he's also not the kind of person that seems like he would kill himself, which I feel like is always kind of a bad argument because people
Yeah.
who don't seem like they would kill themselves often do. And so I don't think it's, but
But
he
he's the one-
resoundedly seemed like
The
not.
crazy
But
thing.
wait, finish.
Oh, sorry,
He's
sorry.
the one who was house arrested at an office or something,
Yeah.
and then
Well, I mean, we don't have to go
he
too
ends up
far
dead,
back,
and they
but-
think he. No, I just want the
Yeah.
story of him is
He
that
went
he
to prison.
killed himself because
He got
Well, he
out
went to
and then
prison.
killed himself.
Yeah.
In
got
prison.
out. He
And-
killed himself in prison.
in a prison that hadn't had a suicide in over 10 years. And he
And
was supposedly, I could be completely wrong here, so I don't take me whatever. I'm just piecing stuff together
Right.
as I'm saying it. But then there were like something with the guards, I think, like there were two guards and both of them fell asleep at the same time or something
Yeah.
like that. Or they had, supposedly they would have had to have done that for him to have killed himself.
Which is like incredibly unlikely.
So the conspiracy
Yeah.
is that did he kill himself or did he get murdered in prison? And he's a pedophile, a rich white pedophile guy
Who has dirt on all the most
who
powerful
has dirt on
yeah,
all
and
the most powerful pedos.
Yes, and he
Pedos.
was about to be on trial, and that trial or that whole case would have led to the reveal of all of these like names of
Yeah.
celebrity-
Potentially.
including potentially like Bill Clinton and I can't remember who else. Like Harvey Weinstein might have been in there too. Trump. A lot of like super high level political people.
Actually, Trump wasn't. Bloomberg was.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
it's not-
There was a lot of names.
It's not believed that anybody in the book was associated, but it was definitely like this guy is incredibly well connected, and so the idea is that somebody came in and murdered
Right.
him and tried to stage it.
Right.
But
I
And-
believe it.
I believe it too.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's difficult to be like skepticism. Like skepticism doesn't hold up as well as being like, no, something happened.
I mean,
there.
it's just like there's so many factors that are just like it would have to be incredibly like basically everybody would have to be doing their job wrong for just that one day for
Yeah.
him to actually have been able to kill himself in that cell.
But that's also how the description of these things are set up is they talk, whoever's writing these articles or perpetuating the myth, not myth,
narrative.
sets everything up in a way where it seems like absolutely this has to be what happened. It's look at all these reasons that it must have been this way. But if you hear someone whose argument is on the opposite side, they can interject things that you didn't even know were things that existed in that space that
Totally.
could have switched. So like surely we don't know the whole story and we probably never will, and frankly our opinions on this don't matter. That's why it's fun to play with conspiracy theories,
Fun is
because
the
like
word, yeah.
who cares, your thoughts on it aren't going to change it.
Well,
That being
fun-
said, my fun thing is he got murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's fun, and it's not saying that we're not trying to prove anything.
Doesn't matter, we just think it.
What you said about the someone can say something else that totally changes everything reminds me of the analogy of like the elephant and the wise men or blind men, elephant and the blind
I've
men.
never heard this.
Where it's like
Ooh, I don't know that
one guy touches the tail and is like, oh, an elephant looks like a snake. Another touches the trunk and one looks like a snake, and the other one says it looks like a tree trunk, and they're
Yeah.
all touching different parts of the elephant, and they all think they know what the elephant looks like, but then you realize that they're just touching a certain part of it. So it's
That's
like
a great
then you see
thing.
all the evidence about Jeffrey Epstein, and you're like, well, all of these things that we know looks like X, Y, and Z until
We might just be
someone
touching the
goes,
trunk.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we don't know.
Yep. So it's a fascinating, but yeah, all the conspiracy theories are very fun and very crazy.
Yeah.
And
We could
and
talk about
insane.
a few more.
Yeah, I like
it on. Yeah.
well, we're all going to talk about our favorites,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay.
I like Area 51.
Sure. Yeah.
I think
Of
that's a
course.
really fun conspiracy theory. Like there are aliens there. There's a spaceship there. Or
Did
something.
aliens crash land in Area 51? Yes or no?
Who know?
Well, yes or no?
Oh, I think so. I'd like to think so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think just there's been so much hype about covering it up and so much military interaction. Again, my opinion doesn't matter, but I'm going to go yes.
There was there's like
I don't know. I really don't.
I keep talking about.
I want to believe.
I've mentioned this book a while ago, and there was like, I can't remember the name of it. Someone in the comments, please help me here. But there was like this general, this like Army or Navy general. Well, it must have been Army, but military, some kind of military general who like retired, and then was like, "Fuck it, I'm dying. I'm gonna reveal all of these like secrets."
I've heard a few different people.
There probably are a few different books and different generals or whatever. They're declassified or whatever.
Yeah. Or they're not, and they're just deciding to speak out.
Right, and right. No, that's totally not. They're not supposed to say these things, but there's like all this interesting stuff. There was like this whole book about how like there was a technology boom between the 60s and the 70s,
and that relates to
taking tech from spaceships and stuff, from UFOs, and reverse engineering the technology they found in like alien spaceships and stuff, which it's cool to think about. Is it true?
Technology
I don't know.
in the 60s and the 70s was stuff
Well, there was a technology boom, according to.
But think about the most advanced thing in like 1970.
Well, they talk about fiber optics being something that they took.
Yeah, that's
from,
a good one. Was
yeah.
that 70s though?
Yeah,
or maybe it came later and it was a result of.
Well, it was like in this. They are saying that they discovered fiber optics.
When did Area 51 happen?
I think it's 50s.
1951.
Yeah,
no, I don't know.
I think it's 50s. I don't know. It could be 60s. We're also like not. We're also
not
just
super invested.
We're not super
We're
invested in this,
chatting.
and so many people are like, "Fuck you for getting all this shit wrong." But
listen, we're chatting. You can Google if you want.
It's interesting to think about how, like, electronics, toys, kids' toys, consumer electronics were all kind of like they say that there was just this boom between like the the 60s and or the 50s to the 60s or whatever, and they're just saying they said that they like found fiber optics in a UFO, and that's how they discovered that.
Yeah, I've listened to the guy. I'm blanking on his name, but he did that documentary that I think Mickey Rourke narrated. I'm blanking on his name. But he claimed did the thing on the Joe Rogan podcast and talked about being a former employee over there, and then described like in the 80s or 90s like a machine that scanned handprints before like fingerprint technology.
Oh shit!
And then like it was invented like 10 years later, and he was like, "Oh
yeah,"
and like was exactly the same thing that he'd seen in the thing. But it's like
in the Area 51 airspace.
Like it was advanced technology that was not released yet to the public, basically. Who could not? I mean,
who could know?
I don't find that particularly convincing on its own, but altogether, I find it all convincing.
It's fascinating. It's definitely fascinating. It's fun to think about, and I'm a big science fiction nerd, so this stuff really tickles me, obviously. But there's also that whole thing of like, the military has technology that we won't have for 10 years or 20 years.
I mean, that's
or
just
whatever.
true. I think that's
just
proven.
true, and that's been proven. But like, why? Is it because they put so much funding into technology,
minds,
or is it possible they got it from aliens? Who knows?
Aliens.
But it's fascinating. So yeah, I like Area 51, and I like the Epstein one's pretty interesting. JFK is a good classic.
Yeah,
conspiracy theory.
I think I'm in this election cycle. I think I'm figuring out the levels of like not being off on the temperature of the rest of the country in a lot of ways. And before like a year ago, I would be like, who cares? Like, if the whole reason for not telling us about aliens is that everyone's going to, like, freak out and panic, I think that's kind of a bad argument, because I feel like people wouldn't really freak out that much. They'd be like, yeah, okay, we kind of knew. But now, seeing the way the panic with the coronavirus is going and the way that everyone's sort of being, like, kind of insane right now, I kind of get it.
People
I'm
can't
like,
handle
maybe
it.
it's best that we don't tell. And I don't even know where the panic would come from or, like, how it would be articulated.
I mean, it would make people really rethink who their enemy was.
Yeah.
Well, I think movies make us think that they would make people think who their enemy was. Because in movies, the alien's always an enemy.
Well, I wouldn't say always, but it's in a lot of sci-fi. It's
name
like
one where a movie with aliens in it where someone is not making the alien an enemy.
E.T.
No, hello, the whole government's after them.
Well, they're not making it an enemy though. They just want to study it.
Okay, but they're the enemy way. No,
it's kind of scary, but they definitely just want him to study him. They're not like he's evil and we need.
I mean, I'll take it. I don't know that I'm satisfied, but we can move on.
I'm with you, Alana. I think I know what you're saying, Steve, but I think you're talking from the perspective of how the director wanted you to see the alien versus in the movie they are taking him
real
and
world of
treating
ET.
him like crap. But I guess that doesn't make him an evil.
Yeah, they're not treating him like a
Necessarily,
threat. They're just
but if you
treating him
take
like
a
we would need to
Like a
study
guinea
him.
pig.
Close
That
Encounters
was-
of the Third Kind. That's another one where they're not like the aliens are our
Oh, well,
enemy.
now I just feel like I'm talking too much about aliens and get a little scared because aliens are my
Alana doesn't
scary
like
point.
aliens and
Doesn't
But
make me scared.
one last conspiracy theory that's interesting is shit. I just had it. Hold on.
Do farts exist?
No, it was JFK.
Because a lot of people think it's just.
Oh, Black Dahlia.
What's the conspiracy
The
there?
Black Dahlia. Well, they've never figured out how or who or.
That's not a conspiracy. That's an unsolved case.
Yeah, but there's a lot of conspiracies that
Oh.
she knew too much about this or that. and-
Hollywood,
Oh, okay.
Hollywood elite Illuminati-esque stuff is
That's interesting.
so cool.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Black Dahlia, all that,
Marilyn
whatever.
Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe, all the what's his name, Manson with
Yeah.
all the
Oh,
Hollywood
Charles
stuff.
Manson, yeah.
Give it to me.
I
Give
know.
me all of it.
Black Dahlia is like, my brother used to be like obsessed with Black Dahlia
Really?
stuff. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's so fascinating. It's like they fucking bisected her and put her torso somewhere else
What?
and her
What?
legs
What?
somewhere.
What?
Like, you don't know about the Black Dahlia?
I guess I don't remember these parts.
There was like this whole conspiracy that she was involved in some mafia stuff or whatever, and then but they totally like dismembered.
They meaning
like put
the people
pieces of
who
her
murdered her?
Yeah, and
So
they
she
still
was
don't know.
found.
They found pieces
cut
of
into
her
pieces?
body like in random places all over, and they never found out how
In a
or
room?
why. No, like buried outside, and like it's crazy.
Is that on?
I didn't know about all that.
What
The camera?
is this thing on? Yeah, it's on.
You sure?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it recording?
No, it's a conspiracy theory that the camera's been recording this whole time.
Speaking of the Epstein conspiracy theory,
Yeah.
another interesting idea I've heard is that, or another interesting element of it that's independent of whether he actually killed himself, is just how he became as successful as he was, because he was a math teacher and grew up in like working class
What?
and like networked his way into being a billionaire hedge fund guy. And sort of becoming this persona, and so there's a theory that he is like an actor, basically, or was an actor, and was propped up to be this thing. And that's from the Eric Weinstein guy who I was listening to. Who's
Can
an
I
interesting
play
dude.
some?
Who's Eric Weinstein?
He's like this guy I follow on Twitter, and I don't really know, but he
should
talks
change
smart.
his last name.
Shouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure he's I think
I'm sure he's
him
thought
and his
about
brother.
it.
He's in that world that it's like an intellectual, like he's very, very smart, but I don't know what to make of half the stuff that he's saying. But the Epstein stuff is interesting because he met the guy and he's talking to him. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alana, what are your favorite conspiracy theories?
I don't know if I have favorites. I mean, I like to form opinions on the ones that are brought to me, but I don't really spend much time on my head.
But you know some of them, like the JFK or
I
like
know some
Disney's head
because
is frozen
Look,
somewhere.
I know a bunch of like health ones because I feel emotionally compromised trying to think about them, because mostly they're all just like the government fucking hates us and is keeping us sick. And to be fair, I think there are strong odds that those are correct, but I don't want to
100%.
make a choice in those
100%.
zones. So the
I
health
think,
ones are there.
The addiction to sugar is not something that has gone unnoticed or pushed for.
Oh yeah,
That's
I mean,
a fun one.
cigarettes, there you can look back and historically, like, the government has always preferred money to health of its citizens in the U.S. So like as government has gotten bigger and more overbearing and more money hungry in the past like 30, 40 years, there's no way that's gotten less. Like pharmaceuticals being one of the biggest industries in the world is not for no reason.
Yep.
And those were started by some real conspiracy theory white men with power and money back
Yep.
in the 30s and 40s and have developed into what they are now.
Yeah.
What do you think about the government created or the government is
Good and
backing
evil.
fast food because it
Fucks
kills the
people
lower
up.
class faster or whatever?
See, those are the ones I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't know enough, but I also don't know if I want to learn more thoughts yet on that, because it's sad. I like to just focus on, well, whether they are or not, people need to be educated on what they're consuming so they can make a choice. Because I still believe the power is in the individual no matter what. Your power of choice as a human being is the biggest power you have, the most incredible, the freedom that you own. But it's all a matter of education, because brainwashing can happen.
What do you guys think about the whole Paul is dead conspiracy?
That
That
he's
Paul
like
McCartney died
Bernie,
way back in
Weekend
the
at Bernie's.
Paul McCartney died and was replaced with a Paul McCartney imposter.
Bullshit.
That one you'd have to be crazy not to believe. It's insane.
What about the moon?
What about the reptilians?
I think that's really fun to talk about.
Yeah.
And
The
I feel like,
reptilians is great,
who
yeah.
knows? Probably.
Yeah.
Or maybe not at all.
Reptilians are fun.
What about like people who lived?
I liked them more when they were called Democrats.
Hello, it is me, a book. As most of us found out the hard way, getting into debt is easy. Getting out is hard, especially if your credit score isn't great. Thankfully now there's Upstart.com, the revolutionary lending platform that knows you're more than just your credit score and offers smarter interest rates to help you pay off your high-interest credit card debt. And believe me, I'm a book, so I know what I'm talking about. Upstart goes beyond the traditional credit score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter rate. Upstart believes you're more than just your credit score. They believe in you. This is something my friend Joe would have really liked back when he left college and had all that collegiate debt. This would have made it a lot easier. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate. Since it's just a soft pull, it won't affect your credit score. The hard pull happens if you accept your rate. The best part, once the loan is approved and accepted, most people get their funds the very next business day. The next day! That's crazy. I'm a book. The information is inside of me. Over 400,000 people have used Upstart to pay off credit cards or meet their financial goals. Set a goal. Use Upstart. Be successful. Free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. See why Upstart is top-ranked in their category with over 300 businesses on Trustpilot, and hurry to upstart.com/Valleycast to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate only takes a few minutes. That's upstart.com/Valleycast. I'm a book. Read me. It's what I need you to do.
Hey everybody, it's your pal, Stone Cold Steve Alston, and today I'm doing an ad for the Valleyfolk, and I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna help the Valleyfolk. Are you unhappy with your smile? Tired of feeling self-conscious in photos? Why not make the area straighten your teeth with Candid? That's right, Candid delivers clear aligners directly to you and straighteners for your teeth for thousands less than braces. Do you understand? Thousands less than braces. Unlike braces, Candid clear aligners are comfortable, removable, and totally invisible. That's right, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you can transform your smile without anyone noticing a thing. Plus, you never have to set foot in a doctor's office or a waiting room. Your treatment is prescribed and monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist. Unlike other companies, Candid only works with orthodontists. You got that? Never general dentists. With other remote clear aligner options, you may never hear from a doctor at all as long as you go through treatment. That means your treatment will be designed by an expert in tooth movement. That's what I meant, is tooth, not truth. But the truth is in the tooth. With Candid, not only will your treatment be designed by an experienced orthodontist, but it also includes remote monitoring by the same orthodontist throughout. So you'll never have to wonder how everything is going stone cold. Because your orthodontist will help you, able to keep an eye on your treatment from elsewhere. Looking ahead to wedding season or a special event? With Candid, the average treatment length is just 6 months, and you'll start seeing results before then. I'll punch your lights out. Learn more about Candid's process and get complimentary 3D scan of your teeth at Candid Studio near you. It's the simplest, freest way to get started. So here's the call to action for everybody. You ready to take the first step toward straighter teeth? For a limited time, you can can get started with $75 off by using code Valleycast. That's right, $75 off by using code Valleycast at candidco.com/Valleycast. That's candidco.com/Valleycast. Use code Valleycast for $75 off. candidco.com/Valleycast. Code Valleycast. Hey, you want to smell what the Rock is cooking? You Joe Stone Cold Steve Hamilton.
Hey, it's Joe Beretta. Anyway, ever wonder why traditional button-ups look so long and baggy? I sure do. Hey, it's because I'm Joe Beretta. I have kids. Have I told you I have kids? I have a wife. You know what else I have? Really cool shirts from Untuck It. Untuck It shirts were specifically designed to be worn untucked. Ha! Wow. Finally. Am I right? Anyway, Untuck It is the brand you've been looking for. It's the original untucked shirt, a modern solution to an old problem. I have kids with no tucking or tailoring required and a wife. No matter your size or shape, their shirts are the perfect untucked length for me. And sometimes my wife. Did I mention I have a wife? Anyway, have you been frustrated with your shirt buying in the past? How has Untuck It changed your shirt shopping experience? How has it changed your kids' shirt shopping experience? Oh, you don't have kids? I have kids and a wife. Hi, I'm Joe Beretta. With more than 50 fit combinations, Untuck It shirts look great on tall, short, slim, and athletic guys, whether or not they have wives. I sure do. Have you browsed online or checked out their brick and mortar stores? Have you? Well, you should. Maybe take your wife and kids there. Anyway, don't take my word for it. Try Untuck It for yourself. Visit untuckit.com and use the code Valleycast for 20% off your first order. They even offer free shipping and returns on all orders in the U.S. That's untuckit.com. That's IAMMARRIED. Oh, misread that. untuckit.com. Use the promo code Valleycast for 20% off your first order. Yeah, babe. Yeah, I'm coming.
What about people who lived in caves?
Cavemen?
The people who like went underground and lived in like, you know, like a National Geographic and stuff kind of shows talk about
like they go like a different species.
like mole
different
peoples.
branch.
Ancient peoples who like when some, you know, like when the Ice Age was coming or something,
Yeah.
like went underground, and there's all these legends from matching cultures of people who did that, and then they came out like hundreds of years later.
This is not related at all to what you're saying, but I started watching the movie Snowpiercer. Have you seen
Oh,
this
it's
stuff?
so good.
I stopped
Never heard
watching
of
it.
it.
I was horrified.
Oh, really?
I was
What is it about?
That's Bong Joon-ho, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's about Captain America is in a world and
Chris
it's-
Evans. It's not actually Captain
The
America.
upper class has basically kept the lower class. And it's kind of similar to Parasite thematically, and only thematically. But I got far enough in it that I was truly disturbed by a scene in the movie to the point that I was like, I'm not going to keep watching this, and I'm also not going to continue.
I respect somebody
tell
who
me
can
what it
turn off a movie when
involves?
they're
It was-
over the content.
No, that was bad. It
because
was
it's hard to
What
do
did it
that.
involve? I
but
don't
it's
remember.
healthy to do that.
Yeah, it was a scene where I didn't get to the end of the scene, so I barely knew what was happening. But basically, they like are on this ship or this plane or something, and they open, or it's freezing outside. They're flying high, and they open a window, and they put an arm brace on this guy, and they stick his arm through.
Oh,
the
yeah, it was like a
vacuum.
form of torture. That's right.
And it even saying that makes me lightheaded to think about. It's the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
in
it
a
freezes
movie.
their arm, and then they break their arm off,
Yeah.
and then they lose their arm.
Oh,
Yeah, do you know what that movie's about? It's
I
pretty
don't.
cool. It's like a train that goes forever, basically.
Yeah.
What?
That they
Keeps
keep
all
the
the poor
poor
people.
people on. And it's like it can't stop or something.
Yeah.
Or if it stops, they'll all die or something.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I
Something
didn't get
like
that far.
that.
Yeah, but oh my god, it was. Blech.
It's pretty cool. It's like and what's her name? Tilda Swinton is in it, and she's
Oh, really?
incredible.
where does it take place?
Like a future, like a post. It's like a post-apocalyptic.
A train that never
It's like a
stops.
second
where?
ice age or something like that.
It's like a train they built that like I guess everything is
don't
freezing.
understand.
Everything outside of the train is freezing, and nobody can survive out in the atmosphere of the Earth anymore. And so they're in this like train that keeps them safe, and it just goes
what are
around the continent forever or something.
What are rich people doing if the
Well,
poor people are on the
supposedly
train?
they're that's kind of like a big
I haven't
Oh, it's a
gotten there, and
reveal?
I
It's a
probably
reveal,
won't,
yeah.
Okay, don't reveal it.
But we gotta watch it because
Spoilers.
if you like Bong Joon-ho, if you liked
I don't
Parasite,
know if I want to watch that
That is the
after
big.
this great review.
I couldn't. I was. Yeah. It. I don't know why it affected me as much as it did, but it just.
Well,
ugh.
certainly in a past life that happened to you.
I guess so. What
you
did
guys,
I do?
Do you guys believe in 9/11 cover-ups?
9/11's an interesting one because there is so much both sides have to say, and
Yeah.
I haven't had a proper, read through.
I think I believe that they certainly knew about Bin Laden, and they knew about Al Qaeda, and they knew about all those. They knew about training,
Training day.
training terrorists for basically suicide mission type things.
Yeah.
They knew they were doing that.
I mean,
but
hadn't
think,
that already happened in the U.S.?
well, totally,
just on a smaller
totally.
scale.
But I think they knew specifically about Al Qaeda or whatever, and I think they knew specifically about plans to attack the United States. But I think that they were not on it.
I don't think that was a staged thing, right? Or that it was a.
Yeah, I don't believe
I don't
it was
think our
staged.
government did it, but I
Like
also
Bush did 9/11, that whole thing.
Yeah,
I don't think Bush did 9/11.
No, yeah, I mean, it was a heck of a thing to pull off.
I
but,
mean, he was just kind of dumb, and
Yeah.
that's the opposite of what I think he.
But I
was
think what they
did-
mean when they
capable
say
of.
Bush did 9/11 is that
The
it's
government.
his fault.
I did,
Like that he didn't stop things or something.
Yeah, I did see a video that weirded me out where it was like the day it was happening. It was I think in London or England somewhere over there, but it was they were doing like the live reporting, and then the correspondent said this building fell, and then also building 7, the such and such building also fell, but on the timestamp it had not happened yet, and so it's like they're like, what a minute, this timestamp is this, and that means that this time in America is here, and the building didn't fall till then, and the whole theory is that basically they were reading off of a script that was sent to them, or like he was reading from the script early. Is the big
Cool.
It is cool to think about.
It's cool.
It's also
Not in a like I'm it's cool like I'm glad people died or whatever, but it's cool as in like it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
It's just intriguing stuff.
It lights some weird part of the brain.
Yeah.
That's not like it's like a lizard part of the brain or something. That's like I don't know what it is, but
Well,
it's
because you
mystery
want to feel
center.
safe, and you want
Yeah.
to feel like the government is protecting you, and you want to feel like you are being protected by your country. But then someone's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but did you know they're really evil? And it's
yeah,
like,
you also
oh.
right. You also want to feel like you can't have the rug pulled out or the wool pulled over your
Yeah.
eyes or something. You want to feel like you're like
You want to feel like you're
on
in the
top.
know, yeah. Like you're like off the grid people like know something we don't know.
Yeah.
And they like having that kind of leg up over the masses.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a power thing.
It's fun.
Red pill, blue
I
pill.
think the people who get really down the rabbit hole with conspiracies, in my experience, tend to be people who just want to villainize. They want someone to be
Sure.
the villain and to be the reason why things are bad in life. And this is because there are bad people who do these bad things, and it's just 100% evil bad, instead of the truth that there's both good and evil in all beings and things, and choices are made and they can be the worst ever, but things aren't completely bad or good.
Yeah, there's like a healthiness to it that I think can come if you are safe with it, where it starts to be like, it gives you a healthy sense of like not believing people, like skepticism can be
Sure,
good.
questioning things.
Yeah, I was watching the MSNBC for some reason, and everyone like complains about the media, and I was watching this person talk about how Biden is like so just everyone's so excited and so energized for Biden, and how Biden is just like his campaign is killing it, and like he was
Is that a phone ringing? What's that sound?
It's this track.
It sounds like a phone
did-
is ringing
it
in
did
the
sound like a
background,
phone.
like a house phone.
But anyway, it was like watching the news correspondent talk about was like, you're like trying to brainwash me into thinking that this guy is like
the coolest
cool,
thing.
and I think
They're trying so
if you
hard.
love Biden, go love Biden. Love whoever you want to love.
Don't
love,
try
love.
to be.
But
yeah.
don't tell me he's cool, and like try to like, and it's not like Biden's really cool. This is what I think. It's like we're here and the energy, they're doing it, and like you can just tell there is and I'm like, no, there's not.
Well, it's kind of like when you see like a friend, or when there's someone in our industry like promoting something that was really bad or isn't really that good, and they're like,
Do you know
"We're
anything
having
about
a
that,
great
Steve?"
time. I do. But
Can you say has enough time passed? Can you talk about something that you promoted that you did not? Is there a statute of limitations?
I don't know. I kind of find myself pushing against that a little. Like I one example that comes to mind is I was sent this like Death Star Bluetooth speaker that's like magnetic and it like floats on a base and it plays music. Like it's a Bluetooth speaker, but it just floats on a magnet, right? And that sounds pretty fucking cool, right? That's cool. Little Death Star floating on your desk, playing music while you're working shit. But the truth is that like it was really bad. It was a piece of shit, and it barely worked. It was really hard to get to actually float. And so they sent me this product, and they were like, "Can you just do a little review on it?" And I was like, "Okay." And my review was brutally honest. It was like, "This is so hard to do.
Good.
I don't like it. It's bad. I'm sorry." You know, but sometimes there's like studios that will be like, come see our movie and then say something nice about it. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just see the movie and then I just won't say anything. You know, like I'll just be like, thanks for inviting me.
You can't say anything about this movie till it comes out, and you're like, got it.
Got it. And
I'll do you even better.
I'll forget about it completely.
You won't hear a word from me.
Like, I love Disney and I love Pixar and I want to do stuff with Disney, and that's like one of my things. Like I want to be able to go to like the fucking Disney studios to see movies there early and shit. But one way to definitely not get invited to do those things is to talk shit about their movies and stuff. But I saw Onward and I was like, that was really boring for like the first half, and then it got really cool and then I liked it, but overall it was just okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I try to be honest, but I even remember really quickly back in the day at SourceFed, remember there was like a studio that like sent us to go see something, and then they were like, do a review and it would be cool, and my review was like, this movie's a piece of shit, don't go see it. And then like the next day the studio rep came to our office and like went into Phil's office.
Was I there during?
Yeah, I'm sure you were. It was like right around the beginning of SourceFed Nerd. So I think you were around still. And they were like, they basically like told Phil like, you either play ball or you're gonna be blacklisted by all these studios and you're never gonna be invited. And Phil was like, look, I like, we want to be able to be honest here, and like, I'm sorry. You know, he really like.
That's nice.
He really went
had your back.
Went to the plate for me. Is that what they say? They stepped up to the plate for me.
We're dropping a lot of half phrases.
I know, serious. All these phrases have been like very twisted.
You know, they don't want you with the under the table loopy-loop.
But I felt really bad because I was like, oh shit, I don't want anybody to get in trouble because of me, and I didn't want Phil to be yelled at by this fucking studio executive because of me.
Because you didn't like a movie.
Because I didn't like a movie, and it was like, and for a while I felt like I was under the knife a little bit, like, or not under the knife, but
okay,
I was,
more.
For once, I felt like I was gonna have a surgery
Can
about
we have
it.
like a list of all?
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, I felt like I might have been in trouble and was like, fuck, am I gonna get fired because of this? But no, it's important to be honest about those things. But I feel that's a similar thing, right? Like, hey, the fucking Biden is like fucking fun, right?
Yep.
He's cool.
Wait.
Oh, I guess
But
Biden's fun now.
I have a response, an addition to what you're saying though, because also there's this feeling that these days there's so much content, there's so much stuff being made all the time that we don't always acknowledge that like making anything takes so much time and energy and effort and passion, and so much is put into creating something. It's like if you went to your friend's play or movie premiere, you wouldn't tell them that movie was a piece of shit. You'd be like, well, these parts were good, and if you want to be transparent with them, you could say like, this part was rough and I think this could have used work, but these parts I liked, or the fact that this happened in it was really exciting. Like, you still emphasize the things that did happen that were positive, because it's like, I think we just get so used to shitting on something, sitting back from our little couch of like not also trying to do a thing, that we don't realize like even the fact that one little thing worked in that creative thing is a big deal.
Even
like,
that is great.
Even that is a huge deal. So
Oh yeah, I couldn't do it.
yeah, being one of those critics who's just like shitting and tearing everything apart is like almost more, it's not neutral negative in that case, and we tend to see it that way because we are just watching stuff all the time. That's like extreme negative, like just, you know, properly critiquing it and seeing the seeing the goods and the bads.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying I'm like right when I say
I'm saying
these
that's
things.
it's good that you because I think that's what happens. A lot of these places, they'll invite you they'll ask you to review something and they'll invite you to go see it, but it's like you've already made the deal with them before you see the thing. So sometimes you get there and you're like, okay, well, I maybe wouldn't have made that deal if I knew that I wasn't going to like it this much.
Yeah.
And you're kind of in one of those positions, so you mention the parts of it that are great. Like maybe it's the type of thing that like isn't really good filmmaking, but it's so funny in these areas.
Right.
Or like this part's really fun, or it would be a really great thing to see with like your niece or something.
Right,
Like
right,
whatever. So you emphasize that because it's still a thing that was made that's so powerful.
That people
and
put
incredible.
effort into and
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And I love it when like like I'll get sent by like marketing people or like some third party or whatever. But usually when it's a studio thing, there's someone who works for the studio that's like, come see this movie. Here's a screening invite or whatever. And then I'll go see it. Oh, careful.
She's upset.
I'll go see it. And then after the movie, they'll come up to me and go, what did you think? And I'll be like, it was okay. And then they'll the fun times are when
I liked it.
When the studio rep goes, yeah, I also didn't like it.
Yeah.
And
Fun
it's like, okay.
times.
I think it's also there's a social media problem where on Twitter, like we all have baked into us, I think at this point, a respect for how difficult that stuff is to
Totally.
make.
Yeah.
But you can't always say all of that in a tweet that you're about a movie. You can't
Bingo,
preface
bingo.
everything with being like, just want to say I respect
Right,
all
I'm
art.
sick
of
I
doing
think
that.
it's-
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
you just go straight for the headline, basically.
Yeah, a review doesn't need a trigger warning unless there's like triggers in it. Like truly.
And even if you are bold-faced lying, there's worse things.
There's
It's
so
true,
worse.
it's
I don't
true.
care enough about my opinions.
Yeah,
to
dude,
even
get your
give
money,
it.
dude.
I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Go
Whatever.
make your money.
Sonic was, I still think, one of the best films of the year.
Get the fuck out of here, Elliot. All right, Alana. We've
Not a sponsor.
we've been dominating with our topics. What's your topic?
Yeah,
Well, the topic I brought's kind of heavy. Should I go with that one I was talking to you about?
I love heavy topics.
You could go heavy.
Okay, so I'm using an example of a DM I got, but I mean this on the full scale of how it exists in the world.
And
So
let me just apologize for that DM.
I got this DM recently, and it is not unusual. I get these types of DMs all the time.
How
so
often?
not weird. Weekly, at least. I mean, if I'm actively posting, could be daily.
And this one stuck out.
Very normal. Yes, and this one stuck out. The reason I'm referencing... Okay, I'll tell you what it was.
I can't wait.
This guy responded to a picture. It was a male, and he responded to a picture. I took a picture of me and Steve sitting on his couch, and I'm in my leotard, and it's like from this angle, from the side. And so you can see like
I printed that one
full,
out.
full exposure of my legs. Like it looks like I'm wearing like a one-piece swimsuit.
Like a
next to
40-year-old man printing out pictures of you.
Oh, God.
In about 2 minutes, this will be done.
So, like, of course, the picture is slightly revealing, although...
You're wearing a fucking leotard.
I mean,
Let's just
I've
get this
worn-
out there.
I've
You're wearing a
worn-
leotard.
Yeah, I've worn like full lingerie. My nips
Yeah.
are almost out before, and I'm just being
And what are the links to those?
I'm just being
I'll send it to you.
direct.
Put them in the description, Freaka.
I'm just being
Just
direct
links to
with
patreon.com.
how this picture looked. Okay, so the picture is yes of me in a leotard with Steve, and this guy responds like a DM responded to it and said something like. Oh, I must have said.
Oh,
something
no.
in the picture
Here's
'cause
what
I
it was.
prompted
You're
him.
wearing the leotard, and I'm holding up my phone. And
Right.
on my phone...
And I did a zoom in, so
is
like
a
the next
picture.
photo and the next photo is like
Yeah.
a zoom into Steve's phone because he's just like awkwardly holding in the background. It's very funny.
And I just so happened to be reading something. It was like a meme, and it said,
And there was an article about
masturbating can save you from the coronavirus.
yes,
And
It's
it was
just very hilarious.
It was just like
It's a
something I
Steve
happened to be
article.
looking at, and I thought it would be funny to hold it up.
Look, we're living in hard times. You gotta stay up to date.
you gotta get your kicks where
Yeah.
you can.
get the kicks. And so this guy DM responded and was like, said something to the effect of, "Oh, really? That's helpful, and I'm glad you gave me the material to do it."
He said you're doing
suggesting-
are you providing a service because of that?
suggesting
or
the
something?
photo that I
Yeah,
had
that he's
just
masturbating.
right.
Or you're doing your part in helping facilitate that.
Whatever the verbiage was.
Brilliant.
The idea comes across. Anyway, here's what I want to say about this. So this guy has responded to loads of stuff. You know, you always have those people who respond to a lot of things you do that you don't know personally, but you have like an idea of their personality, or at least what their personality is when they're interacting with someone who they haven't met in person. So I have a really good idea of this guy's personality, and he's such a nice person. I mean, okay, for the record, everybody's going to give me hate. I don't know him personally. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. But, you know those people who you get a feeling of who they are, and they're really sweet and nice and like good intentioned, most importantly. And so when he specifically writes me something like that, I feel there's so many feelings because he's not somebody who tends to just have bad intentions. Like, I really think he's just also a victim of toxic masculinity and doesn't understand that is like not okay to say.
When you scroll up, it's not all thanks for letting me. Yeah,
it's so nice. It's very supportive things. Like, I post my documentary, and he probably responded to that, being like, and which is about sexual harassment. And he was like, "Great, I'm so glad you're making things like, nice shit, like truly nice shit."
And just really quickly before going on, just so it's clear,
Alana is my girlfriend.
what the person was implying with the reply was that image of Alana in a leotard was like
it's a good thing to masturbate.
Was like
to.
masturbation.
I was
fodder.
offering it to for people to masturbate,
and in highlighting that my phone said masturbating can keep you safe from the coronavirus, he made a joke that like, oh well, is this image supposed to help?
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah, and he's saying it jokingly. But so now that I've given that whole preface, the subject I want to talk about is like, we all know people who are like that, who have good intentions, and I think the vast majority, I'm gonna just say it's more often guys. So of guys in that type of role have really good intentions, but they just have not quite been taught. Like, they've been raised in the same toxic masculinity that we've all been raised in, and it affects men and women and all sorts of people. And unfortunately, I think further down the line, when people like that take it too far and get pushback, it tends to be one of those things where, like, when you're just blindsided by someone telling you you're wrong and you had no idea, everyone's initial instinct when that happens is just being defensive.
Yeah.
Just
of
like,
course you think that. You think you're just feminist.
or even just like,
Right.
just like, what? I didn't, what are you talking about? I was just stepping one foot in front of the other. Like, I have my whole entire life. What are you talking about? I'm doing something wrong. It just makes you immediately so confused that you just get defensive about it, right? And if we want a community that's able to like grow and move forward and not just to wait until Generation Z occupies the entire planet, like those conversations, there needs to be a light version of them as well to allow people to make that evolution. So it's not just like, you're Harvey Weinstein, fuck you, go to jail. But there's also people who were raised when Harvey Weinstein was making movies, and they've been in a position to assume that's okay based on culture. Like, I don't think he understands. What I'm trying to say is, and perfectly exemplified by when I first started this, you guys are making all these like sexual toned jokes.
Right, like he printed out the picture and stuff.
Right.
But
the
we
difference
respect
is,
you.
But the serious difference is in those comments, if you think of a comment you have, or like a comment that's been said, if it is demeaning to the person who's the butt of the comment, that's not okay. If it's just about sexuality, like, sexuality is a human thing. We can make jokes all the time. Like, that's totally cool. If you're demeaning someone and saying that, that's the easiest thing to be able to tell you if it's not okay. Yeah. And I don't think we really talk that through enough for especially men in that position to really understand, oh, that's when it goes too far.
Great stuff, Alana. That's really good. Sorry about my joke.
No, your jokes were great.
Yeah.
I love those are hilarious.
You gotta make them, but
we're all friends, and you respect
friends,
Alana, and
I know that,
and she knows that. And this guy is just some random guy that like previously has said nice things or whatever, and hasn't been a problem.
If one of you
that
said,
made you uncomfortable,
well, not you. If you or somebody in our relationship position said to me like, "Oh, haha, you posted that picture so I could masturbate to it," that would probably still be too far.
yeah, there's a couple different messages with that message that aren't just, haha, I'm masturbating to you. There's also one of going, there's also the desire to tell you, which is in and of itself
whole
weird.
Thing. Yeah.
And there's an assumption of familiarity that I think I can relate to that part, not in a necessarily being, what's the word when you're sexualized or objectified? Yeah.
Objectified.
Maybe not in that case, but in being a public human being, in our audience, having been with us for so long, there's often a sense of assumed familiarity where I have shied away in the past year a lot from being more active on social media, because there is this thing of people speaking in a way that isn't necessarily mean, isn't necessarily anything other than a joke, but I still go like, I don't know you. Like I don't
The
find,
intentions aren't bad,
like,
but it's too much.
yeah, the ribbing or the there's roasting, there's stuff like that happens where I'm like, you don't know me and you have no right to talk to me that way, even though I'm sure you're a nice person, you mean nothing bad by. And knowing that I also put myself in that position or something.
Yeah,
like
there's
And that's
totally two
all a
layers because
root-
there's the
and the-
public personality
yeah.
layer and there's the toxic, like the low-key toxic masculine environment we've been raised in.
Totally,
layer.
and there's a bunch of different things at the root of that. Being toxic masculinity and pop culture and movies and the news and things like that. And another, well, and also a president grabbing people by the pussy and shit.
Yeah. Well,
But-
hopefully,
me.
if someone's well-intentioned, that hasn't affected them to make them think, "Great, I'll say that way. I'll
but-
speak that way."
But also, as like content creators, as YouTubers, whatever, influencers, whatever you want to say, our business is kind of based around that kind of like, we are friends. I'm looking at you when I look at the camera, and we are making a connection together, and you build this kind of bond with your audience, and then they, kind of feel like we're all friends, and my friends can say shit like that to me, and I know, and I love them, and they respect me, and I know they do, so it's okay. But these are people that they've built the idea that we're friends.
Yeah.
That you're closer
that
than
we're
you
closer
are.
than
There is
we
a
are.
friendship, but it's
we've
not,
harbored that.
And they see
we've
us
harbored
doing it
that.
together, and then they go, "Oh,
Right.
that's how they connect
Right.
with it. So let me connect that way."
Yeah.
Which makes total sense. Like that would be a
Right.
completely normal
It
thing.
makes total sense.
But I fortunately don't have the added layer of it being a sexualized thing, which I
Right.
don't have any. I have no.
But I still think there's
Right.
a line between, like, there are when something is sexual or not, when it becomes demeaning. It's not
right.
playful. Even from a close friend if a close friend were to make a joke to me that was actually demeaning to me, especially sexually, even if they were a close friend, like, that's not okay. Do you not understand? And I feel like there's this lack of understanding that in a lot of men, frankly, who are closer to our age, who are raised watching the
Right.
movies from the 90s that we watched that said it's okay to do these things, with the locker room talk that said it's okay to say these
Right,
things. That's
right.
normal to talk about women that way. When, like, thank God the earth has evolved and now it's not normal. It's not okay. But we need kind of the education to help get people up to that.
Can I ask some questions?
Yes.
Okay. Few questions rolling around my brain. Had you already established? Had this been had you gone back and forth with this person previously?
Yes.
Okay. And then if they had not mentioned that they had masturbated to you, okay, but in a hypothetical world, they still did.
Well, it is even hypothetical in this sense
That's
because
true.
It was a joke.
But let's say-
he
it
may
seemed like
not
a
have.
joke.
Let's
probably.
say he straight up did.
We
said
couldn't
it.
put it past him.
Hypothetically, he
did.
told you. Hypothetically, he really did it. What is it? Is it weird knowing that as a girl, there's dudes that are like that you will never know about? Like the people that are telling you, at least you know about, but there's a bunch of other silent yeahs out there that you won't know about for all of us. What was that? Do it again. Whoa, that's great. Full circle. But what is that? How do you comprehend?
I have wondered about this for the longest. I mean, personally, just to be straightforward, if somebody's like jerked off to me or some shit, go for it. I don't care. It's none of my business. Like, I don't usually
It's when
imagine
the
real life
line-
people, but I'm sure I have in the past. And I'm not going to go tell them I jerked off to them. Like, whatever. It happens. Whatever. It might even be a weird one that you don't understand. It just happened that week and it never comes back again. Like,
There's kind
sure,
of like
go for
that
it.
thing of like, if inside of your own brain, there are things that you've probably done and do that you might feel shame for, or like might be hard to talk about, like saying you masturbated to a friend or
Sure.
something.
But-
those are things that like they belong in here.
Your brain can come up with some
But-
weird stuff where
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know, I didn't mean for that. to
But
happen.
there's so many
they come
things
from
that
that weird
belong
place.
in your brain and should stay in your brain.
But also-
like when you
but there-
see an attractive
Sorry. person
person or something, and you're like, "Wow, that's a very attractive person."
Let me go
You
jerk
could
to
do a
them
couple
tonight.
of different things. You can keep it to yourself and be like, "That's a very attractive person." Hell yeah! Or you can yell out the window, "Hey, what's your phone number?"
Or you could turn to Steve and be like, "That was an attractive person, right?" It's super
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Okay, great,
I just
great.
turned to my friend.
And that's
I
the thing.
say it like I say it all the
Dude, and Alana and I
No, wait.
have done that
Okay.
too in public, where we're like, "Holy shit, did you see?"
I've done it my whole life.
But it's like, I don't go on the internet
pervert.
and message those people.
But
I
wait,
don't
there's-
find that person.
You're
and
skipping a
message them.
piece.
Sorry.
There's also a difference between when you have those random things happening in your head. A lot of times, it's like your dreams are weird for a reason. They're associated with different things. There are different reasons
Yeah.
they're coming up. When you're jerking off to someone that you don't know in person, or even someone you do know in person, a lot of times it's like this completely other fantasy version of what you're imagining them to be for the dream vision that you want to jerk off to. Like, it's not really them, their soul. It's maybe like their skin suit. Like it's not who they are, right? And that's the
It's
reason
society.
That's the reason you don't go talking to them about it and sharing it to them, because it's not them anymore when it's in you. It's a different version of them, right? Like their boobs are a little bigger, and their this is a little different, and that's all a little different when they're an in your head version.
Next question.
Okay.
Great answer. Great stuff. Did you correct, which might be a weird word to use, or did you what did you do?
This
is
is
the
part.
problem.
This is the part
problem.
where Alana and I get into little.
Yes, but you haven't experienced life as a girl like
I
me.
know,
So
I
it's-
know.
It's also
But
Wait, shall I answer
understand
first?
it's hard for you.
Well, hold on now. I want to wait. I want to hold that. I want to know what it had, and then
Well, it's just go ahead.
I
go
know
ahead.
every girl watching this. I'm sure every girl watching this
or listening.
if you've been
yeah, don't be sexist.
if you've been like if you've had friends and been public around people, you know this feeling. Even just because the internet exists now, you know this feeling. You've had one of these messages. I'm certain of it. So I know every girl right here is relating, and I don't. It's hard to represent an entire gender, so I might get this wrong. But for me, this is where I'm not sure that I'm making the right choice, basically. But I'm still going with my like old training from the 90s and the 2000s and everything. And I'm just also / with my personality is just always wanting to only be positive or don't say nothing at all, basically. Which is just my sort of philosophy on interactions.
Toxic femininity.
Toxic positivity.
I mean, they shouldn't call it toxic masculinity, actually, because it's really
I know,
pinpointing
I know.
like men when it's it's across the board. But okay,
But
whatever,
I don't
that's the
deny
term.
it.
But it's-
I won't deny it.
I mean, it is a
But
real
you're
thing.
right. It shouldn't. It
It would be great if there's a different name that felt less personally attacking to men. But that aside,
Yeah, but you know what?
Wait.
We're tough enough. We can handle it.
okay.
Come on, boys, tough it up.
Listen to you from
Oh,
you're
do
making a
toxic
good point.
masculinity make you sad?
Better
and hurt
not
your
cry.
feelings?
Yeah, good point. But that being said, I don't usually call them out on it, and I should. I mean, if somebody's straight up
Yeah, I
an
wouldn't.
asshole, like there's no good intentions in the background that I've seen for weeks and months, then I'll just like block them or
Yeah.
delete their interaction or whatever. I'll just be like cut off, no. And occasionally, if I've been talking to someone and they say something crazy out of line and I didn't realize, and it's not they had good intentions earlier, they're just like liking things, so I'll like it back or something to be interactive and nice. And then they say something crazy out of line, I'll just be like, no, that's not right. And then
Yeah.
I'll just stop talking to them. But with people in this specific position, which is the one I really want to talk about, that middle road where I feel like most of the I have like male friends who I can put in this as well. This is so many people, and I just think it's how we've been raised. But people who are in that middle road, guys who are in that middle road, I just don't. I struggle because I know I like feel their pain in that empathic way. Where if I said something shitty, they're gonna be so blindsided by it, and they're gonna think it's so much worse, and like really hate themselves and get really upset about it. And I also don't want to take the time to like go through explaining all of it and like, you're not a terrible person, but this isn't okay to say. And like, I kind of just want somebody to make some great content that people
there's-
can start understanding how this is.
Yeah, I think there's people that are savable in that sense, and
Exactly.
to assume that everyone is unsavable and that they're just these worms is not going to help anybody.
No, like you're just gonna like kill people out of society.
It's
not.
not-
It's
But
not a
how
good
do
thing.
you help those people?
Exactly.
Like truly.
What do you
Yeah, I
do? What do
don't
you
know.
do in that position?
You know, I mean, I don't want to be the fucking guy, and you don't want to be the fucking guy, and you don't want to be the fucking girl.
I do think there's
Someone's got to do it, though.
I think this is where things like, this is going to sound real still LA, but this is where things like art come in, and it's where being very honest with yourself and true to who you are publicly comes in. 'Cause, that I think helps more than anything. And
art is the quickest. I'd say art is one way for
I
sure.
think it's the most subversive.
I like it.
It's
subversive.
It's the way
that's
that you can do it without hitting somebody over the face and being like, "You're wrong for this, and this is how you need to change." Because that doesn't even make people want to change. It just makes them go like, "Oh, really? You're just a snowflake."
Right.
And it's like, okay.
But then there's that line of like, are you being too preachy? And then it's like totally over the annoying scale, or it's like just right in the middle where it's like going over their heads,
and you know
and they
they're
don't
gonna
even
get,
see it.
You know they'll be defensive because I'm defensive if somebody tells me something I wasn't aware of. Like it's normal human instinct.
Well, there's people
and you
get
wanna
defensive.
Be aware of that because if the goal in the communication is for them to understand you, not just for them to react, you want to say it in a way that they can hear you, and that's hard and complicated.
I know, because it's learning to speak
time.
in a way that they're used to.
Exactly.
Or that,
to add
or
to that. That
Yeah.
it's text, like you can't.
Exactly,
that's
it's
impossible.
text.
Like to be like, to convey compassion and to convey non-judgmentalness over black and white text. It seems
Right.
Yeah.
nearly
And there's a percentage
impossible.
of people who you can be like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be very calm.
Yeah.
And some people will get that and like it, and then
And
there are
some
people that
people
are
will be
gonna be
like,
like, fuck you, don't
"Stop
talk to me
talking
like
down
that.
to me."
Don't talk
Yeah.
to me like I'm a fucking
Just
child.
say what you want to say. Yeah, there's no win.
Right, but then you could be like, all right, motherfuckers, you want people to respect your ass? There's gonna be people
Yeah.
going like, I don't want
Like,
to hear that either.
But you have a good point with art. Like that's how culture got to this position in the first place. Is art represents pop culture. Represents what's going on in the minds of people and what's okay, not okay, like how to live essentially, and there you go forth. But like imagine if some like #1 box office movie came out that was about a guy who's in that middle zone, who like is recognizing and understanding that like, oh, the ways that I was taught to be and make jokes and whatnot since I was young, the world's changed now, those aren't okay anymore, and understanding why those aren't okay. Because most of these guys, all of these guys who are in this zone, if they knew that was hurtful and painful and that's why it's not okay, they would stop in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Synchronicity.
I'm hoping that movie comes out.
It's funny you mention that because I went to therapy this past week, as I do, and I do it all the time and I like it, and it's thank you so much, and I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm better. Thank you so much. I am better. But we talked for like an hour about creative endeavors and like business-y stuff, and it was like career coaching a little bit. But we were talking about how he was like, the world I think is ready for men to make something and to create things that are voicing where they're at, because there is a lot of young young men who are being blamed for the sins of old white men.
Yeah.
And I think that there's like a voice, there's like a vacuum where something like that could play really well. And then you just mentioned that, and that's
You
a
should
fun,
write it. You write movies.
I was writing a
Hello.
little something, but it's too not good yet. But yeah, it's a fun, interesting time that we're living.
I think kind of the bottom line is, and I don't know, and I'm not the final word on this shit, but I think what we've kind of, in just this discussion, what I feel like we've come to is the idea that it's just impossible to get through to literally everyone.
Well, of course, yeah.
And I think it's almost futile to even try.
Well, no, it's impossible to get through to everyone with one thing.
Sure.
As the community is changing, there's literally content coming out every day that's representing what I'm talking about. It's just we're continuing to talk about it because we're continuing to make that and let it grow and move forward. This podcast will help a lot of people.
There should be like a league of like, I mean, this is starting to get into like interesting territories, but maybe there should
Are you starting a cult?
Maybe there should be some kind of like fun cult where there's like 20 different people and it's all mixed races and genders and whatever, and they all kind of just go, let's all make stuff together. Not together, but let's all make things and talk to each other and all learn from each other, and then let's all make things that project to our respective audiences that are all aligned with the idea of teaching people that it's okay to feel this way or that way, and it's okay to have these thoughts but don't act on them, and it's okay to do, maybe it's just like, because there are different senses of humors and styles of dialogue and styles of whatever that get through to certain people and don't. But if everybody kind of aligned on the message that we can teach with the same principles of just be good to people and be kind and respect people.
Are you talking about Jim Henson then?
Yeah. Well, even Jim Henson, there are people that don't like the Muppets, and there are people that don't like Jim Henson or puppets.
Yeah, but just because they don't
he didn't
like
kill
them.
himself. That's all I'm saying.
Just because
Jim Henson didn't kill himself. Thank you. I am better than you. I am better.
But I don't know.
But they don't like him because they don't like watching the Muppets, not because they don't like his messaging of.
I mean, I guess it would be hard to find someone that would disagree with Jim Henson when he says that, life is short, you should be kind.
Yeah.
But there are people that disagree with that. And there are people,
It's Elliot.
Yeah, it's me, and I'll jump in right here. Thank you. I am better. This is a fun conversation because I have no idea exactly what's going to come out, what I'm about to say, and I might not be good. But I was thinking about how offensiveness in comedy and jokes that offend people, and I was trying to think about why I don't think about that so much when I'm doing jokes, and I think it's because if someone were to come to me, and this has happened before, in the subtlest way or in a direct way, and say that something I said or a joke that I made was offensive or that it made them feel uncomfortable, it would and has basically broken my heart. If somebody is hurt by something I said, that is, even as a kid, if I hurt somebody's feelings, that was the worst thing in the world. If someone comes to me and says that something I said is offensive and it will offend someone else, that doesn't ring with me in a way that makes me change much, because I want to connect with the person that I offended, and I think that's why in the fall, the Valleyfolk fall of fall 2019, the thing that got to me, the boobies of 2019, the fall. The thing that got me the most was the idea that I had done something that was already difficult, but in addition had hurt the audiences that are members of our audience that were personally affected by it. And then I was like, oh no, that was a paradigm shifting kind of experience. Not because, but prior to that, I was like, people will be upset. People, of course, this is going to, whatever. Seeing people actually be legitimately, from their perspective, hurt by a thing, and not being able to sort of shake them and be like, whoa, that's a totally different thing. So I think for me personally, as someone who is as sexist as I am, which is not to say that
not very sexist.
Not very sexist
from the outside.
Not super sexist. But I like to think that there's some in the vial, in the science, whatever.
Everyone's a little bit sexist.
A little sexist, a little whatever. I'd like to think that the stuff that helps the most is hearing stuff that's direct, that's hey,
personal experience.
Yeah, it's real good.
But that's
great
also a
point,
really
Elliot.
good point. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I didn't know. I made a point.
No, it was a great point.
point.
It was a great point, especially in the world of comedy, because it's Dave Chappelle, when he performs, there's no cell phones allowed. Nobody can film it. Nobody can record it. A lot of comedians are like that. No cell phones. Take the cell phones away.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna say some shit. Dave Chappelle's the kind of guy that just says shit, and it's sometimes very controversial, sometimes sexist and racist and all sorts of stuff. And, he wants to be able to control that narrative, and he wants to be able to test out shit. And, a lot of times you can't. But when he, that's why when he does those shows, it's don't record this, because the last thing I need is to explain to a fucking huge social media group of people why I said the thing I did, and then apologize for it. And then it's well, who am I apologizing to? The people who are actually offended by it, or the people that feel like they might be offended by it?
And who are you writing jokes for? Are you writing jokes for the people that you're trying to make laugh, or are you writing jokes around the people that you think may say that something you said could be offensive? And I've literally heard so many people in Los Angeles say, oh, you just can't say that. If you say that, then they're going to say that this. And it's you don't know what people are going to say, and you don't know until you actually start doing it. And the people that tend to base everything off of what they think people might say tend to end up as I found, be a little bit more. Their vials are a little fuller.
Well, and like
behind the
context
scenes.
is a big thing too, right? Like
It's everything.
Context is everything. It's like is that person like, you know, with the fall of the Valleyfolk, like are we sexist, woman hating men?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we're also
Yes, we are.
Such
But
a-
above that, we're very
such
funny.
an overdone joke at this point.
It's like, no, we're not. But people are going to believe that based on certain actions, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's important for people to know that in context, if you know me as a person, you know that's not who I am, and that's more important to me than some stranger who is going to live the rest of their lives believing that I'm a sexist backstabber.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it brings back to what you're talking about, Alana, the middle of the road people, which is why I don't.
I think that's like everyone.
It's a lot.
I feel like it's like 80%.
Yeah,
Least.
I think that, and then we've seen that. I know this is deviating a little bit.
It's
from,
totally
No,
deviating.
but it's all
the
interesting
parallel,
stuff.
yeah, is in our experience there are the people who were against, then back, and then they kind of are tepid about it, and it's like those are the people I think that have every right to be still upset, still whatever, still doing their thing. And I can understand that being similar to looking at somebody in your DMs and being like, okay, this isn't like a monster. This is just someone who said something that is not good.
It's just someone who's misguided
No,
and
it's some-
and is a misunderstanding, maybe.
It's somebody who, I mean, it's 100% the culture you're raised in dictates what you think is okay to say and do, and you can't understand how something feels from someone else's perspective until you're shown that, or you're in the other perspective, and that's the effect of this middle of the road toxic masculinity. Is like they're not considering the woman's position because they saw movies like James Bond Die Another Day that I just
Which
watched
we
last
watched last
night.
night.
That is like the most toxic masculine fantasy
but
I've ever seen in my life.
But I hate to break it to you, but
That's
so
real
many
life.
action movies from that era are.
You're not breaking
like
anything
that.
to me. I'm just saying, like,
Well, you seemed surprised.
I really think this is worse than most. Like, literally, the women in the
I
movie.
don't know. I could show you some.
The women in the movie are like,
I could
I
show
hate
you
you. I don't
some.
want to do anything with you. I don't come near me, and then immediately get like rape culture.
I could show you 3
Positive.
beloved action / popular movies that are very unwoke and not okay. Like
tell
one
me
of them is Purple Rain, and we'll talk about that next time on the podcast.
Thank you for Jones. What is the? Oh yeah, you also, Alana, have, in my opinion, you operate with a higher level of thinking in which you are able to decipher that someone's actions and someone's words are a part of them and not necessarily the sum of them.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
we're not exactly living in an era where that's popular.
That, especially on the internet.
Yeah. So on behalf of dudes, thanks for being that way.
Yeah, Alana, you're an important person. It's
Well,
important that you
The
exist
selfish.
and say that.
Thank you. The selfish reason I even bring this up is like, I mean, what I do
Plug
in
your
my real. What I do in my real life outside of these things is I'm making films about feminism and empowering everyone equally and things like that. Like, this is the world I've been living in. And the film I just recently finished, we interviewed like I feel like 50 plus, I think, experts about sexual harassment and inequality and why that's a thing, and people who are like really trying to make change, who aren't just complaining about it, but like professionals who are in the field, who are
Getting
like legally
involved.
working on it. Yeah. And so I've learned especially so much since then. And for the past decade that I've been doing this type of work, I've been really questioning myself how my actions are affecting or not affecting. And in moments like this where a guy DMs me and I know that he's got good intentions and he's by no means a bad guy, and I think if he knew that what he said was hurting me, he would be very sorry and his heart would break, the way we were saying. Like, if I just straight told it to him, I think he'd feel so bad. And he's an example. He's like, I know a million people who fit into that. Well, not literally. I literally know, probably I could name right now 20 male friends who fit into that category, friends or colleagues. And it's those people that I don't know how to respond to them.
It's not your job.
Well, because I don't want to perpetuate that's like, because your silence in those situations or your condoning of that, if you're like, oh, if you laugh along to the joke, you're perpetuating that. And that is, I believe that is the responsibility of the individual to not perpetuate that. Like if you're the guy in the locker room when locker room talk is happening and it is like fucked up, then you say, oh, that's actually not very funny. I really think that is your responsibility to stand up and say that.
Oh, if you hadn't laughed when I said the printing out thing, I would have. If you'd have just been like, that would have been all.
Yeah.
I would have been like, we'll edit it out. I'm so sorry.
Exactly,
or
and
we'll
then
keep
you
it in if you
learned.
want to keep it in. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay to make a mistake, but then you would have learned if that was a bad situation that's too
yeah.
bad, and you don't do that around people. But then you watch movies where like stuff really bad happens and everyone's okay with it.
Yeah.
So you start thinking, oh, well, everyone's okay with it, and this is like a really big movie right now, so the world is condoning that this is okay and everyone's okay with it. Like that's how you get to that mindset, right? But what do we do now with the people who are like really are good intentioned beings who are making small mistakes like that? I'm talking about for the small mistakes. I don't want to condone it. I don't want to stay silent, but I don't know how to give such a like nuanced response that they can understand to like cut them off, but also not cut them. Like I feel like either I'm just going to be this like aggressive asshole.
There's a. Do you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
we're like pushing an hour 30 on the podcast.
We are. Holy moly.
Yeah,
I got one more thing to
but
say. Though.
I really did want to say really quick that I think we're living in a time where this is starting to become a little bit. It's starting to become a bit more common to respect everyone equally, and it's starting to reach pop culture heights, which is really important. And we all work in an industry that could definitely use more of it also. And I think with you working on awesome projects like the Empowerment Project, which is something that
A great movie.
or the
Nevertheless. It's a great
which
movie.
is
You should totally look it
hopefully
up.
gonna be on Hulu or something or Netflix at some
Soon,
point.
hopefully.
But I've seen it twice and it changed me and
I've heard it's
warmed
real
my
good.
heart. It's
It is
incredible.
Thank you, boys.
It's an important thing
Yes.
that needs to be seen. That Alana's friend Sarah.
Sarah directed it. She's incredible.
What's her last name?
Sarah Moshman.
Moshman.
And
I was
she's
gonna say
Emmy
Wiseman,
Award
but
winning.
it's not.
Do you know that?
But you're working in a field and you're working on things that are only going to perpetuate this message of equality and love and respect for all types of people from all types of sexualities and walks of life and all of those things. And Elliot and I work in that same industry more or less,
But
but
you guys-
in a comedy way where comedy can
Exactly.
help
Exactly.
in ways that maybe we aren't the best at it.
No,
but
I think you guys are doing
we're
the same
doing the best
thing.
we can.
You are doing the same
We're
thing
not
by
trying to preach, but we're trying to
Well,
turn
I
the
am.
tide a little bit. You know,
I get. I
But
fall into it a
you're
little bit.
normalizing the type of
I guess we do
behavior
fall
that is respectful to all people, and that is what media ideally does. What you normalize through media is what you want to
I
be
just think we
normalized,
all-
right?
Yeah.
I think we all.
You guys
have-
are doing that.
I think we have a responsibility to boost this message, these messages, especially at a height of social status that we are. And I'm better. I'm better.
We are better. Whoa, I didn't know Steve was better.
Steve.
Yeah, I have one more thought, and this
ahead.
is
Please,
that was
please.
a better summary, so you can really just pretend this happened before. I was thinking about your dude with the message, and not to whatever or get whatever,
Yeah.
but there's like this idea, this school of thought that basically sex is ingrained into our DNA. It's a result of it, and that's all for me. But there is a act of like pursuit that is related to sex. It's essentially penetration to slide into your DMs, which inherently sounds sexual, and then to say something sexual to you is in and of itself an act of being like, I'm invading your space now, and I'm letting you know that I think this about you sexually,
Yeah.
which is a smaller version of having. It's a microscopically smaller version of having sex with you. For that reason, I don't think we're ever going to come to a utopia where all of these things aren't happening and that everyone is sort of enlightened perfectly.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can separate the impulse from the action, and in a way that you don't feel like you're gonna have your entire life canceled as a result of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said, Elliot.
Do you have no applause for that?
Nope. But I do want to say what a great episode this was. We jumped around to many different serious and not so serious topics, and I think it was wonderful. And Alana, thank you for bringing your beautiful brain on the
so
podcast.
great.
Thank you for talking
Thank
with
you
me
so much.
about it.
And we'd love to have you back to talk
thank
more about
you.
it, because obviously we have a lot more to say. And
I told
there's-
Steve
it's-
we should have a girl here because I bet
Yeah.
she'd have interesting things to agree.
Well, Grace's stomach was hurt, but otherwise,
Well, another time.
she would have all sorts of.
Really? Oh, I'm sure she'd have
She's
many
real.
stories.
She'd have things to say.
be
yeah,
down
I think
to talk
it would
about
be,
it.
It would be cool to just maybe get like an all-girl version of the Valleycast at some point, where you guys could just talk about whatever. you
Only
think-
girls?
Yeah, why
You
not?
guys wouldn't be there?
Why not?
We'll have a meeting about it. We're not gonna agree to anything now.
Why the fuck not? And
Sounds like a different podcast.
Alana, thank you for being here. You're very articulate, and I love hearing your thoughts.
and do you want to plug anything, my dearest?
Do
Yeah,
it.
nevertheless, but it's not out anywhere. It's a documentary. And the Empowerment Project. Oh, Losing Sight of Shore is another film we worked on. It's about 4 women who row the Pacific Ocean without help. And it's really good. And it's on Netflix only until May. And that's why I
Nice.
want to promote it.
And
to
by
go see it.
road, not that they rode like they ridden.
They
ridden
rode in
on
a
it.
rowboat.
They were in a rowboat. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like a slightly fancier because it's meant for the ocean, not just a lake, but a rowboat. Yeah.
You can also push your socials if you want. even
Oh,
though it's kinda
and you can
awkward.
go to my Instagram at lovealana.chan, and that's where I am everywhere. And those are the options.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for listening to this kind of long version of the Valleycast. I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, please, if you'd like to become a patron of the Valleyfolk, we would very much appreciate that. You can go to patreon.com/the Valleyfolk, where you'll get all sorts of wonderful treats and sweets and surprises. And, what else? What?
Can I say one last thing?
Sure, of course.
If you have an idea of how that conversation can be had with those middle of the road people,
Ooh, great.
please comment it because
That's
truly,
a wonderful discussion to have. And
Knowing our audience, they're going to be very funny about it. and they're gonna
I
have a
hope
good
so.
sense of humor.
Yeah,
and
but
It
if
needs
you
funny
to
start,
jokes.
if you
create-
Funny jokes, not
lightness
a-
needs
yeah.
to
right,
exist around
if you're a
it.
piece of shit, we will delete your
No,
comment and
yeah.
think seriously about banning you from the channel. But anyway, please, if you enjoy our content and love what we do, please help support us on patreon.com/the Valleyfolk. Otherwise, you can join, you can subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/the Valleyfolk, and our brand new channel, youtube.com/the Valleycast. Or Valleycast.
The Valleycast.
Is it the Valleycast? And where we'll be launching all sorts of new podcasts, and this podcast will live there from now on. And we would appreciate your subscribership there, because we'd love to make a bunch of new stuff, and we can only do it with your guys' help and support. And we appreciate everyone's so far. So if you'd like to join us, please do so. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, I want to do this really quick. Hang on.
Where's the cat? Perfect.